Okay, Darren here, BestAutoDetailingTips.com. Today we are going to talk about black trim restoration and preservation. Now those are two separate things. So today I'm going to focus on restoration. Now this video is long overdue, and I think I've been promising one of my followers named Buddy for a very long time. I have been buried. I took on a separate project. I was doing some consulting that has since finished, so I'm back down to biz. So I'm going to be talking about 3 different products today. So let's go in, and I'm going to simplify it and do my best to cut to the chase, because we all know how Darren likes to pull his own cord. And then if you care to stick around, I'm going to add additional information for a big diverse group of my followers and viewers, because I cover, well, let's just say there's a big group. So in this video, there will be something for the do-it-yourselfer, car owner, RV owner, guys that are trying to get into the business, guys that have moderate levels of experience. So I'm going to cover a lot of things, but I'm going to reserve my additional talking for the end. But let's talk about black trim restoration. So behind me, and now in front of me, I have an Airstream. And if you've seen these silver bullets floating around town, these are a high-end RV. They have like this cult following. So this is one of those moments where one thing led to another, and I thought it might be a good video moment. And since I shoot my videos on the fly, I just have to go with the moment. And it's not always easy, because I'm in neighborhoods and I've got people coming and going, sometimes the customers coming and going, so it can get a little complicated. It can get a little tricky. So what we have here is Solution Finish, big fan. What we have here in this unmarked bottle is Black Wow, big fan. And then we have Armor All. Everyone is familiar with Armor All, very likely. Not a huge fan, let's just say that. This is truly a retail product. That means, as a rule, the product has to be dumbed down to the lowest common denominator of society. It's called cover your ass moment by the manufacturer. How do we make sure that the biggest knucklehead of society will not hurt himself or his car in the process of using our product? So they have to dumb it down. Then you get into true professional grade products, which this is where, as professionals, you actually do some research, you get trained how to use it. They can use chemicals that the rest of society, it would be unsafe to put those chemicals in their hands. So this is true professional grade stuff, even though these are very user friendly and most any knucklehead could use it with a little reading of the directions. So to simplify things, black trim restoration. So I'm going to demonstrate on a couple things. For example, this Airstream, and I hope this is picking it up, you can see how oxidized. Now there's a label or a term that is floated around the world, and really, what does that mean? Most people associate the word oxidation with, hey, check this out, I can actually film myself talking, but who cares, right? Oxidation, it's just a grossly oversimplified and misused term. What does it actually mean? So I'm going to throw that term out the window, and I'm just going to call it weathering, okay? So this material and this decal, for lack of a better word, is like a rubberized vinyl type of raised emblem decal. It's not rigid, it's not hard, it's not made out of plastic, it's not made out of metal. It's like a rubberized material, but it does weather. And by weather, I means that it degrades. It's kind of like me. I could say, wow, Darren, you're going to be 50 this year, so I'm oxidizing. Well, okay, let's just call it aging, because oxidization, it is an official technical term, but it's so commonly misused. So the point is this material, like anything else, when it's exposed to the weather and the elements of outdoors, and just over time will degrade. So how do we restore it? How do we prevent it from degrading? So this is a case as how do we restore this? So we have two problems here. First is over time it just naturally degrades and weathers. Secondly, you can see this white area, and that is a result of wax staining. In other words, traditional waxes, they haze up and they stain black trim. And you probably have a similar problem, or you probably would not be here watching this video. So I'm going to go around this little Bambi. Oh, excuse the phone. Let me So there's some various points, like for example, look at on this emblem, same type of material, but this is so bad that, and also because these emblems are smaller, that the wax is still left in the seams. So this can all be cleaned out, which I want to show you the before and after. This has weathered less than the first example because it is exposed to the sun less. Then down here you can see more examples where we have some staining of traditional wax products, and not by me, I will remind you, because I don't use products that will stain like that, and if I do, or if the situation requires it, I'm not going to get it on materials that I know will cause a staining. Then up here we have a VW Touareg, and it's got a fair amount of black trim on it. Now this side over here I've already pre-cleaned, and what I use to clean it, and that's as simple as it gets. You clean the surface and then you apply the product of choice. How do you clean the surface? Well, it's pretty simple. You use rubbing alcohol.
I love the Airstream.
You like that, huh?
That is very cool.
Yeah, wait till I'm done. It's gonna even look cooler. So here we have, and this is in the shade, hopefully it's picking up. We've got some some wax staining on this trim piece, and this side I have not pre-cleaned yet, and so I want to show you this. There's all kinds of gunk underneath it that needs to be cleaned. Now this is not all due to staining from wax, just this white stuff right in here, that's from wax. The rest of this is road grime, and that comes in endless types of material. So this will have to all be cleaned before I apply the trim restoration product. And here's my rubbing alcohol. Now, I use this in two formulations. You can use it straight, and I get this specifically at Costco. So if you have a Costco near you, it's a great place to shop. You get the Costco mentality, which is more for less. And so we start hoarding things. It's like, okay, this comes like in a 2-pack. How many of you are really going to go through a 2-pack of rubbing alcohol, I don't know, in like 5 years? You know, it's like the gallon of ketchup. It's like, okay, let's be realistic, folks, but sidebar there, sorry. Anyhow, 70% comes in different formulations. Don't overthink that. They have like 70, 80, and 90% isopropyl alcohol. ISP is the acronym that's floated around on the different forums. That's what they mean is rubbing alcohol. Now you can mix this with straight water. I mix it with distilled water, 50-50 solution. So half of this, half of the water. That's what I use to do general cleaning with when it comes to situations that it's appropriate to use rubbing alcohol. Now in this case, because this staining is so extensive, let me show you another area right here around this lens is some excessive staining from wax. So I will have to use like a little scrub brush, and you can use something as simple as a toothbrush and then straight rubbing alcohol. Now some plastics or rubberized materials like this stuff, the alcohol will start to break it down, and what happens is it kind of turns into a gooey type of feel to it. Now, this is a case by case, and you're gonna have to use your judgment call. I could use that product straight over this, and it would still produce good results, but I want better results. So I'm gonna clean this up with straight alcohol. I'm gonna break, and I'm gonna show you the actual process so you can kind of, if you are an Airstream owner and you wanna take this project on yourself, you'll kind of know what you're getting yourself into. Okay, so I'm going to address this area first. Now, just so you know, the AIR I have already cleaned and treated with the solution finish. And that is the product I'm going to be using. So the bigger or greater question might not be how to do it, because how to do it is very straightforward. You pre-clean and then you apply the chosen product. It's that simple. The greater question might be, which product is better? Well, it depends on what you mean by better, and it will depend upon who you ask. So I have chosen solution finish for this demonstration, and I happen to know the owners and the formulators of both companies. So here we have solution finish, here we have the Black Wow. Now, depending upon who you ask, solution finish claims that at a molecular level, this is a true trim restorer, because the molecules in this product, and this is kind of goes into the area of nanotechnology, you know, technology at a true microscopic level, where chemistry and certain logistics make the molecules and chemicals permeate or soak into or pass through better than a product like this. So this would be more of a superficial trim restore. And by the way, I'm a big fan of both. And you can actually use both of them together. You would use this one first because it's going to literally soak into and truly restore the black trim. But if you want a more shiny, glossier look, you can actually go back over it with Black Wow. Now, if you're already a fan of one or the other, then go with it. They both really are great products. They both do hold up in the weather very well. But personally, I accept the fact that this actually can, at a molecular level, go and pass through the cell structure of plastics and black trim. So in this case, I'll be using the solution finish. So if you happen to be an Airstream owner and you're getting this type of effect, either just from general aging, or you've stained your trim or the decal with some wax, I take my rubbing alcohol, and as I rub it, and I'm careful not to rub against. Now, just so you know, these Airstreams back in the day, they used to be just straight aluminum. Now they're actually a clear coated aluminum. So essentially, it's like working on your car paint, because it's a clear coat, which is, to simplify it, it's like a plastic coating. It's a form of plastic. Yes, believe it or not. Now that's different than some of the other higher tech clear coats that they're starting to get into. So if you rub this with straight rubbing alcohol, it will start to remove this layer, this weathered layer that can literally be scraped off with your fingernail. And see how black that is? So it's removing that dead layer of, okay, let's just go with it, oxidation. I'm just not such a fan of these overused words that most of the people commingle and use in different applications, and then it just creates confusion for the rest of the world. And so they float these words around the forums, neighbors, family members, go down the list, and next thing you know, we don't even know what we're talking about, but we're all regurgitating unverified bad information using these terms that sound cool, but yet what do they actually mean, and what are we actually talking about? So that's why I hesitate in using the term oxidation. Most people will associate that with paint, and clear coats don't oxidize the way old school single stage paints used to oxidize that would turn chalky and hazy. Clear coats just don't do that. Anyhow, so if you do decide to use straight rubbing alcohol, it will break down this kind of rubberized material and it'll actually get a little tacky. That's perfectly acceptable and normal. I'm cleaning off that staining 100%. I'm cleaning off that layer of dead material so that it's now ready to receive the black trim restoration product that I've chosen, which is Solution Finish. So I'm going to finish this up. This is just rubbing alcohol, some of the residue that's coming off from the trim. You needn't worry about that, because after I'm done with this, I'm going to use a non-staining wax that I can literally wax right over this, and I will have created, really it'll look like brand new, and in some ways better than brand new. So I'm going to finish cleaning this. I'm going to prep the area on the Volkswagen Touareg, and then I'll bring you back for the finished result. And then, knowing me, I'm probably going to drone on about some other subject that you will feel will be completely unrelated to detailing, but in fact it's not. So hang tight. Okay, I finished cleaning that dead layer off, and if you noticed, whilst I was cleaning, it left a bunch of residue. So what happens is that as I'm cleaning off that dead layer, no, I'm not flipping you off. It's what it does is it pulls some of that residue, or it leaves a residue on the surrounding material. Now, rubbing alcohol is not going to damage or hurt the clear coat, but I want to clean that off, as I've already done. So this is where I take my mixture of alcohol and distilled water, 50-50 blend, and I just spray over it. Yes, I've already treated these, but at this point it's a non-issue, and you can see that even when I use the alcohol on it, it still remains black. So it's pretty cool. So I'm going to go back through and now apply the Solution Finish and show you. Okay, so let me just verify. Okay. Here we have Solution Finish. Now, if you order this, it comes with a complete kit. And there's different types of kits. If you go to the description box, the link will be there. And yes, once again, it helps support my cause. Allows me to make these videos instead of getting paid to detail. So Solution Finish is very unique in that if you did a side-by-side comparison, this is a yellow, or I'm sorry, an orange type of gel. It's very greasy feeling. This is actually black, and you could call it a dye, although some people, for some reason, they hate that word. It's like, oh, you're just dyeing it. It's not going to last because it's just like a superficial coating. It's like, well, guess what? When they dye fabrics, guess what? It soaks through and it becomes permanent. So I don't know why, and maybe you're not questioning this, maybe you are, but even if you want to call it a dye, it doesn't really matter, not in my world, because really that's what I want to do. Is I want a solution that will actually penetrate the material and become permanent. Okay, so that's what dyes do. So whether you want to call it a dye or just a restore, whatever, pick whatever label you want to work with. Okay, so I'm being pretty liberal with this, and yes, there's getting some on the surrounding area. Well, that's where you just come in with the microfiber and you just clean it off. No big deal. Now, if somehow you were working with a material that truly was porous, then it could be a big deal. But because the clear coat is not porous, I suppose if you worked yourself far enough down the wormhole, you might be able to find some pores at some crazy magnification, but it's not porous in the traditional use or sense of the word. So I'm just going to go around and I'm going to clean off any of the residue on the surrounding area, and then I'm going to let this sit, and voila, I would say we have very good satisfaction here. So that's pretty straightforward. Clean the surface, apply the product. Bigger question is which product are you going to choose? Armor All, yeah, it's an okay product for a retail consumer, but as a rule, manufacturers have to dumb it down. Solution Finish, and like I said, I know both the owners, both great guys, both very knowledgeable. This guy is a true expert when it comes to black trim, and that's all he deals in. This guy, his name's Richard Lynn. He's a professional detailer. He has a shop just a couple miles away from my home. Great guy. His father is a chemist, I think, in the cosmetics industry, and he came up with this formulation. So depending upon who you ask, you're going to get different answers. But according to Chris, who's the owner of this company, he says that it truly will, the molecules that in the way this is formulated, the molecules will actually be able to penetrate and truly dye at a permanent level black trim pieces of all different types. So that's probably the greater question, which one do you use? And according to Chris, you can even use both. You can apply this on top of that if you want a more shinier, glossier, but like anything else, that comes with a certain amount of trade-offs. Okay, now, for all you detailers out there, something that comes up, and let me find the cap so this doesn't dry out. And just so you know, this stuff, it comes in this little bottle and you think, wow, how cheap. You know, that's all I get. This stuff seriously will amaze you. It will go so far. And so it's kind of a misrepresentation, or maybe unfair, because I've got this big, huge bottle and I think, oh, I get more for my money. It's kind of like that Costco mentality. Well, we always want more, and more is always better, right? Well, this stuff is amazing. A little bit seriously goes so far. I was truly in shock the first time I used it. Okay, so you other detailers, I showed up to this customer, and occasionally customers will have their own products that they like to use. So let me go in, walk with me here. And he had some products like Mother's paste wax, because I'm waxing, actually I'm claying and waxing the Touareg. This Walbernize, it has a cult following with the whole Airstream group. So I use that, and then of course he had his Armor All. I'm not a huge fan of that. So I don't really care if in other words, this is a learning moment for you detailers that are getting into the business. If they have their own products and they're committed to it, why fight it? You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Just say, okay, I'll use it, unless you know it's a product that's truly just crap. But usually I'll tell people, yeah, I'll use your product if you want. Just so you know, these are retail products. They've been dumbed down. I have products that I've tested and I personally think are better. But you're the boss, you're my customer, I'll do what you want. Typically, when I'm very candid and direct that way, they say, well, you know what, I'll leave it in your hands, Darren. You use what you think is best. And that just gives me permission to now use what I truly know is best. Not think is best, but know is best, and that's just based on experience. Okay, so Buddy, I hope I'm getting that name right, and I think you're the one that's been bugging me to do this black trim restoration. So as soon as I'm done treating the Touareg and the Airstream, I'll pull you back, I'll take you a little round tour and show you the end result. Okay, finished product time. We've got our Airstream looking sweet. We've got this area looking sweet. More sweetness. Down below, we've got the black trim under here, all decked out, good to go. We've got our Touareg. You know, I mean, it's just got extensive use of this black trim all around the perimeter. And then when you go in the front, it's even worse because you've got all up underneath here. Now, I did not deal with all in here. I would need a sprayer to actually really get that. So this is where you kind of have to make a judgment call. Probably most customers are not going to get on their hands and knees and take a look at this, but it does happen. Anyhow, so only you can decide as a detailer or as a car owner how meticulous you want to get. But I got very meticulously around these areas because these are visible. Here we are on the other side, looking all nice and black, and it doesn't feel greasy to the touch. It's not messy, gooey, greasy. It's just a nice. It really restores it to original condition, is what it does. So this is why I'm a fan of the solution finish. There is a sheen to it, and depending upon which way the lighting shows up. But if this rolled off the dealer lot in this lighting, this would have a natural shine or sheen to it anyways. So it just looks like healthy, brand new black plastic trim. Okay, till next time, folks.